Hi. So we are switching now. I'm going to moderate, and Charles is going to talk. So just a few words about Camilyo and about this session. So Camilyo, for the ones that don't know us yet, we are an all-in-one platform. We think that we're probably the first one and the most comprehensive one. We cover from presence to marketing to sales and business productivity in one platform. And the challenge of selling that's what we're going to talk today. Over the years, we didn't start from being an all-in-one platform. We started actually being a website builder platform. And every year we ask ourselves, what are the challenges of the SMBs? What are the challenges of the industry? What are we facing? What are they needing? What do they need? How are we going to solve it? And so on and so on. And we evolve over the years through that, through asking, how can we target the next channel and the next thing? And every year we're also trying to ask ourselves the hard questions. And the question that we ask ourselves this year is, how do we sell that? Because it's very easy to sell Google, it's very easy to sell Facebook, it's even easy nowadays to sell in a way to explain websites, but when you come and sell an all-in-one solution that includes 16, 20, Vendasta is bringing 60-something modules, how do you do that? And that's a question we wanted to try to answer. So we asked LSA and Charles to conduct a survey for us. And from that point, I'll just let Charles describe it. We divided the session to two parts. First is the survey that Charles will present, and then one of our partners, Local Search from Australia, which is actually implementing several of the outcomes of the survey, will shortly also present how it is actually implemented.
All right, thank you. I'll take that one right there, this one here. Okay, so I obviously wear a lot of hats around here. My role at LSA, which is my primary day job, I guess, is working for the local search association in the States, is I conduct research and write custom white papers and other forms of content on behalf of some of our partners, Camilyo being one of them. And so we were asked to basically survey or certainly go out and talk to people in the industry who are pushing their shoulder against the wheel of this challenge, which is, as Gil described, how do you walk into a room with a small business when you have an all-in-one solution that does 10, 20 different things and have a meaningful conversation that leads to a sale rather than leads to a confused customer and an empty pockets. So, and it's a legitimate challenge. So what I'm going to talk about is sort of frame what we tried to find out and some of the findings that we came up with, and a sort of a summary of what we think are some best practices for selling the full stack. So the report, just a little bit of background, last year we did something similar for Camilyo. It was called the Small Business Operating System, where we sort of described this concept of selling the full stack. And sort of the carry-on for this paper is to describe, how do you sort of overcome some of the friction that results from having so many pieces of functionality in one product, essentially. So I'm going to summarize our findings. The paper will be published in November, and you'll have an opportunity to download it and read it yourselves. So I'm just going to give you some high-level findings from it. Okay, why the full stack? Okay, I'm an American and I love pancakes, so every time there's a full stack conversation, I use the pancake metaphor. I realize it's a bit parochial. I apologize for that. But that is a pretty delicious looking stack of pancakes. So anyway, the stack we're talking about has nothing to do with carbohydrates, but it's about functionality around marketing solutions and back office solutions. And there's clear advantages, business advantages to offering the full stack, many of which have already been described, so I won't belabor them. But monthly recurring revenue, who doesn't want that? Brenda just talked about, more units per sale or per, if you sell people 4 things versus 1 thing, your churn improves dramatically. These are all very real, compelling reasons to sell the full stack. And of course, another issue is if you sell the full stack, even if you don't sell it all at once, you have an opportunity for additional conversations on an ongoing basis with the customer. So these are very compelling reasons to do it. And there's also demand. I think I showed, this is I actually shared this data yesterday. Basically, the bottom line is 2/3 of small businesses in our research indicate they would much rather buy multiple products from a single source rather than go source them individually. That sort of stands to reason, but the data really supports that sort of common sense assumption. Okay, so, but as Gil indicated, there is a challenge involved. If you can't sort of have a quick, easy conversation about this, you end up with, your sales costs are driven up because you're spending way too much time having these conversations instead of having an efficient sales conversation. You lead with confused customers, confused sales reps. It's if you walk in there and try to talk about every piece of the stack, these are the results. It's not good. So how do you do it? So what we did is we talked to a bunch of people. There's some pictures of some of the folks that we talked to. Actually, Brendan's in there. I'm not going to cite Brendan, but we've had this conversation with him a number of times. And I'm just going to give you like a quick high level of what some of the folks shared with us. And I'm not going to read all these in detail. But, and it's going to sort of coalesce around a few basic findings, which is that, first of all, you don't walk in and sell the full thing. You have to keep those simple, short conversations. And this will come up over and over again. And automation of and what it really comes down to is a lot of the sales happen afterwards in sort of the after-sale process. And the more that process can be automated, the better. So this is Carmen from Paínas Amarillas in Portugal. And these are some of the things that she shared about how to sell the full stack. So I'm going to kind of walk through these real quickly. This was a fellow named Josh Melick. Maybe a couple people in the room know him. He has a business basically that sells review management software to small businesses, where basically a process for soliciting reviews, which are obviously a big driver of SEO and a lot of good reasons to have reviews about your business online. And they're an inside sales organization, so they've sort of mastered this idea of doing a quick demo and getting a 15 to 30 minute conversation that leads to a sale. And so his view is that if you have to talk about 18 different things, this blows up his whole sales model. His sales costs go through the roof, wants nothing to do with it. His idea is, and this is a metaphor that we're going to sort of use throughout this whole conversation, you have to find the single wedge that gets you into that small business with selling one item. And from there, you after that initial sale, you sell more and more and more. So that wedge is going to be different for every customer. For one customer, that might be a specific feature, or it might be a specific benefit. But you have to find that wedge that gets you into the door, and then it's the process over time of building on adding elements to the stack. We talked to Vendasta quite a bit about this subject. Jackie, who will be speaking, I'm actually running another conference next week in San Francisco. Jackie will be speaking there, and it's all about the whole stack and how to go to market with it. And, this is sort of repeating some of the things Brendan just said, but this notion of the single trusted provider and selling what they need rather than what you want to sell them. Brendan covered this already. Really critical point, that second one in particular. Because that gets you in there, gives you that opportunity to expand your relationship with the customer. So Mark McLeod, the one thing I will say that he points, he's a big investment advisor to companies that are raising money in small business software. So he's the guy to talk to if you really want to understand what makes these businesses succeed or fail. And his one point is, if you think you can't afford to invest in service, you're wrong, because you can't afford not to invest in service. So if after that initial sale, if you don't have a process to serve that customer, make sure that their customer experience is top shelf, first rate, then your shooting yourself in the foot. You have to make that investment, and that gives you that opportunity to build into that stack. So, again, I was just giving you a couple quick highlights of the conversations we've been having, but to sort of wrap it all up, these are the things that we take away. If you're not doing these things, we're not thinking about these things, you're going to run into a challenge. You can't explain every component of the stack. That's a big one. If you go in there saying, we do this, we do that, we do the other thing, you're going to fail. You have to sort of understand going into that meeting what the conversation you have about one thing, and what's that one thing going to be about. It's probably going to be different for each customer, depending on their vertical, depending on their tech readiness, depending on a number of other factors, but it might be, we're going to sell you booking software because we know that's what you need, or we're going to sell you CRM because we know that's what you need, and then from there you add things on. Again, keep it simple. The wedge, that's that one thing that gets you in the door. Use that wedge to build a relationship, or establish the relationship, and then expand from there. And I think also don't be selfish. Focus on delivering real value. So much better to have a customer that gets real value out of one or two features than just banging them with everything you have, because that's your business objective. Solve their problems, then you will have a long-term relationship and an opportunity to add products and services. And the last one I think is also very important is you might sell 16 things or 20 things or 30 things and they only use one or two. That's okay. You don't have to sell them the whole stack. You just should have, it's important that you have that relationship, and it's important that you have that opportunity as their needs change and evolve to sell them new products and services. So really it all comes down to find that wedge with one product, two products, a small handful of products perhaps, and then build it over time. So that's a very quick summary. We're going to have a white paper where we kind of give case studies and a deeper conversation around these points, but that's the few-minute version of it. So I'll hand it back to you, Gil.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I might just jump on.
You want, yeah?
So what do? I just click?
On the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Hello. I'm Daniel Hargraves. I'm from Local Search, and I'm our Chief Product Officer. So I work with development and that crew. If we move forward, so that's us there. So obviously we're going through our digital transformation. We started back in '93 as a phone book company. We focus heavily on regional Australia and doing smaller books with a street directory, and we eventually grew from there to where we are sort of now. But as times are changing, we saw, I guess, the writing on the wall a few years ago, and we've been looking for a solution for our clients so they still want to give us money, ethically, I guess. So new customers, new expectations, that's all changing here. But what does it mean for us? This is the big one. If we don't innovate constantly and always have our foot on the pedal, we'll just die off, because someone else who cares more will innovate that product and get to our customer and then sell it. So the biggest thing that we know is our customers' problems. Small, medium enterprise, they're time poor. They're running their business, they don't have time to think about doing their AdWords or running their booking platform. They just want someone to come around and see them regularly and be in contact with them and say, here, I'll do it for you. So they can focus on doing what they do best. And the biggest one that we sort of talk about in our company is we're trying to bring calm to the chaos that is being in business as a small business these days. There's so many different sort of, I guess, stacks of where, what do I do with my digital marketing? What software should I use? What cloud accounting software should I use? And I just want someone to come and tell them this is what you should use for your particular business. And that's sort of where we're at. So really, I guess we see our product now as CX, so all about making sure that we give the best possible customer service that we can possibly do, rather than what we used to do, which is go in and peddle our phone books and try and get a half page or a quarter page or a business card or an in-column ad. So that new way of thinking, if the customer wants AdWords, we sell them AdWords. If the customer wants to be on our website, we sell them that. If the customer wants to be in a couple of different products that we offer, we sell them that too, as well as we're about to start selling the CRM, email and SMS marketing, and all these cool things that for a lot of our customers, it's just a little bit too much in the hard basket too, so we'll be able to bring these products to them. And that's the new breed. So the dashboard, the smartphone app, And the great thing about what Camilyo does is they bring all those apps into one simple, easy-to-use product. So if a client hooks up their CRM, it's got the CRM in there, then they can instantly do an email and SMS marketing campaign straight away. They can do an instant blast, they can customize it, they've got templates in there, they can install their booking widget on their website, they can build their website in there, and it's a one-stop shop for that business owner to feel safe. Because I guess we know it, being dealing with these businesses for so long, it's scary running your own small business. You might be 1 or 2 people, it's a husband and wife team, they're constantly working, they've got kids, they don't need this shit really in their life. They need something a little bit more simple. So that's what, do you just click it and it moves? That is cool. That's actually what I've been waiting for. But bringing in all those different verticals into one simple, easy-to-use solution. And with the SMBs, new generation. Well, I guess for me, I'm not really a big fan of the 20-year-olds because they never have any money. I'd rather sell, I'd rather sell to the 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds because they tend to pay their bills a little bit better. They can keep Snapchat. So coming down to that wedge, so what we sort of try to do in local search is solution selling. So sitting down with the client and identifying what problems that they have. It might be a case of, they need a website, they need this, and then addressing them, buying that wedge, and then after that, going in and upselling them with new products and trying to make sure that they always know what we're doing. So we do a lot of automated email marketing to our clients, make sure they're always informed. We're about to do one actually this week about a new launch of our product that's going out, and just making sure that they always know that we can offer them anything they want. If they want something, we'll just find out how to do it. We'll come to one of these conferences and work out who's the vendor and team up with them. And I think, did I turn it off? Oh no, we're good, good. And so we've got the Find Me package. So what's interesting about this particular one? So we have everyone's data in Australia. So we have everyone's listing. So our wedge for a long time is the fact that we printed a phone book, their listing was in there, so that was a good enough excuse for us to go cold call them and try to sell them some advertising. So it could be those pests without being too pests. So the same thing with the digital transformation, a lot of these same sort of practices have just evolved a little bit. So same thing with listing management, you've got the review manager in there. It's just, obviously, you're not just dealing with one listing, multiple listings. Instead. And then you've got the big one where you say, well, look, you've got this now, what about we upgrade you? So the same thing, you might, back in the day, sell them like an in-column ad, and then you try and sell them colour. Then you try and double their ad and sell them a quarter page and then a half page, and then same thing with this, you hook them up with the CRM, you get them interested in email and SMS marketing, then you get them interested in the booking platform, and then, they buy AdWords or they do something else with you, and it's just a continual thing of where you're maintaining that client, but also the major focus on CX and making sure that they feel the love, really, from you all the time. Okay, cool. All right. Great.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, so any questions from the audience about any of this? How about, so when you talk about the wedge, I mean, what is your one thing that typically you start with?
Whatever they want to buy?
Yeah. What is the most common?
Right now, it's probably a bit of a mix between our local search online product, which is the .com.au. It could be websites is a big one. A lot of people just come to buy websites off us. That listing tool will probably be one of the ones that we see as sort of a wedge. Could really be anything. Could just be that they're unhappy with their current agencies doing their AdWords, and they won't come with us because they've seen our call tracking and how we do things a little bit differently, or they've seen our TV ads on TV, and that's the reason.
Would you do you look at it vertically at all? I mean, like by home services versus other types of, do you have a different approach for different verticals?
I want to say yes.
Then say it.
But no, not really. We generally, a lot of our sales consultants, they'll go see a solicitor in the morning, and then they'll see a plumber at night. And that's sort of how we've always run the business. Because you can't really sort of set yourself up to say, I just sell lawyers, or I just sell mechanics. Like, you have to be cross-skilled, just like you have to be cross-skilled with these products.
Right, okay. Okay, I have a question.
You said two things which seem to conflict. In the selling process, you said we sell them what they want, and then later you said we identify what they actually need.
What they want, what they need, yeah. That's a good point. I guess sometimes...
Which do you prefer?
I prefer to sell them what they need, because quite often we'll have a client who says, I want to spend $5,000 a month on SEO. And we'll say to them, look, it's going to take 3 to 6 months for an SEO campaign to kick in. You know, maybe just start off with some AdWords, start off small, we'll get you used to digital marketing, and, you know, you'll be okay. But we end up, you know, if the client just pushes us into it, we end up doing some of these campaigns and they just get over it too quickly because it wasn't the right product for them, even though we've told them that it wasn't the right product. So that does happen quite a bit. We try to be the expert in the room, but sometimes, you know, if people want to buy, they're going to buy it anyway. Does that answer it?
Yeah, which do you prefer?
Oh, which do I prefer? Oh, I like to tell people what to do, so I'd like the need.
We have another question over here.
How much time?
So my question is just very simple. How much time usually does one of your salespersons spend with your customer while making this wedge sale?
It's funny, it's a good question actually. So, you know, it varies because you could be seeing the plumber and you'll sign him up on the back of his ute and it might take 10 minutes because he wants to get back to the job. So he just says, just do it the same as last year. But what we're trying to do these days is spend the hour with the client and actually make them sit down and go and do an evaluation over their marketing. So go through their website, talk to them about how they can improve that. Go through their listings, make sure that they've got their NAP sorted. Talk to them about what their goals are in terms of, you know, do they want to grow? Do they want to put another person on? So maybe we can look at doing an AdWords campaign for them.
So that's about an hour for a new customer?
Yeah, about in between 45 to 1.5
Okay.
hours we're finding these days.
Another question?
Yeah, hi. I'm interested in knowing for, like this kind of products, for example, they usually yield very low subscriptions initially. Do you charge a setup fee and use a setup fee to compensate your salespeople?
Absolutely. So particularly we'll be doing a setup fee for the Camilyo product. We currently do a setup fee for SEO and AdWords just to cover ourselves because there's obviously a lot of work that goes into initially building the campaigns and then obviously the commissions for the reps. So yeah, it's a big yes. Big.
So how have you, over the last few years, how much turnover has there been in your sales force? and the bigger point is, how has it changed? How have your salespeople had to change in order to adapt to this?
Yeah, I guess our median age of sales reps has dropped considerably. We had a lot of people that were sort of still hanging on to the print. They felt comfortable selling phone books and we had to move them on nicely. You know, we had a bit of a retirement party each year for everyone. And then we were looking for reps. So about 4 years ago, we sort of would hire anyone as a sales consultant because it wasn't that difficult. And we just found we had a lot of churn from that. So our sales manager, Derek, now, he started to respect himself in the hiring process. So if we didn't feel that person was the right fit for us, we just wouldn't hire them. Even though they might go out there guns blazing, but if we felt like they were going to burn our clients, not do the right thing and really work on that relationship and nurturing that, we'd put them off. So
is recruitment easy? I mean,
no,
a lot of folks, depending where you are, it can be very challenging.
Yes, salespeople are always really hard to find. You know, you've got to find people who really, I guess, want to work, want to get rejected every day, go through those 20 no's to find that yes. You know, we have a lot of our reps who travel around Australia as well, so they might do a couple of different markets. So there's that, you know, being away from your family is a bit of a consideration for them. But I think the reason they stick around is just the family culture that we have in our business. So even though we've got about 250 staff, you know, we have a very flat line management structure of where the top of the line knows everyone. We know exactly who they are, what they do, to the point where, I guess, it can get a little creepy sometimes.
Creepy. Sign me up.
Come along. We're always looking for new consultants.
Any other questions? Sure. Alrighty. All right, I guess we could probably wrap it up there and move on to the next session. Gil, anything last things from you? Okay. All right, well, thank you.